Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fiercely Spiritual podcast. I'm your host, Sandra Ray, and thank you once again for joining me for our April forecast and New Earth. It's funny because I was thinking about the energy at the moment and all of the chaos and the crisis and the pandemic and everything that's going on at the moment. And I was thinking about the April forecast, and I was wondering, what is going to come up? What is going to come up next? What can we expect? Certainly, the unexpected has been occurring, and we definitely didn't expect March to turn out the way it did. But having said that, in my March forecast, I did talk about how health was coming up. I did talk about how that would be at the forefront and issues around health would be coming up. I didn't realize that it would be on such a global scale. But one thing I did say was that towards the end of March, that there would be a sense of hope coming up. And I really do think that that's starting to emerge. We're starting to come out of that initial shock, the initial what is going on, the initial sadness of having lost out on experiences, friends, events that we would have been experiencing. And we're coming into that phase of acceptance. We're coming into that phase of, okay, we can do this, we can support each other. We're coming into that element of, okay, even if we can't meet face to face, we can meet online, we can do things, we can get through this. So for the month of April, what I've been feeling into, it's like there's two timelines. Well, there's more than two timelines, but two predominant timelines that are at play. So there's those of us who are experiencing peace, and we're feeling deeply peaceful despite all the fear around us, despite the pandemic, despite the uncertainty. We're feeling a deep sense of peace. And this is the timeline that is emerging, that has been emerging for a long time. If timeline feels like it doesn't sit with you, you can use frequency. You can simply tune into that frequency. So you can see it as a timeline, or you can see it as a frequency. So there's that frequency or timeline that's at that level of peace, that timeline that is at a higher frequency that we're all being lifted up to. Now, the other timeline is the timeline of fear, where those of us who are experiencing great fear, great uncertainty, and doubt, we are resisting the higher energy, and we're allowing the energy of fear to pull us down. We're getting dragged into it, and some of us are getting stuck there. So that's like the old timeline. It's like the energy of fear that once pervaded the earth and still is to a certain extent, but we're emerging from it. It's like this cloud of fear that suddenly we're starting to walk out the other side and realize that on the other side there's beautiful sunshine and blue skies. So what's going to happen is either one of two things. And also, actually, before I go on, there's those of us who are vacillating between the two. Some days you're in the fear, some days you're at peace. And it can be from moment to moment as well. It could be that some moments you're feeling fearful, and then the next moment you're feeling deeply peaceful. So you can be like dropping in and out of both. It's like you're trying to ascend, but then old energy is coming up, pulling you back down, and it's actually coming up for a release. So if you're vacillating between the two, if you find that you're being dragged into fear and then suddenly you're feeling peaceful, or you're feeling happy and then suddenly something happens and you're going back and forth, that's completely normal, and you're releasing the fear. And actually, it's a good thing. If you're finding fear coming up, it's coming up for release. It's coming up for you to let go of it. So it's a good thing if you are noticing the fear, it's passing quickly, you're returning to peace, you're returning to happiness. And it may seem like you're on this roller coaster going up and down, but actually you're releasing it really quickly. So that's good. It's only if you're staying stuck in the fear permanently and you're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, you're not allowing yourself to rise up out of it. You're just staying in the fear. So I'll give you some tips on what you can do to transmute that as well. But what will happen is, if you're getting stuck in the fear, if you're not allowing that to release, if you're holding on to it, it'll become so unbearable that either you will have to just surrender, let go, and say, okay, I give up, I'm surrendering. Surrendering doesn't mean necessarily giving up. It's just meaning, I'm using that as a figure of speech, it's just meaning letting go, just surrendering that control of having to hold tightly to what you thought was right, or what you thought you believed in, and just surrender to what is. So either you will come to a stage where it's so unbearable that you will have to let go, or there will be people who decide to exit the physical plane. And we're seeing that with this pandemic, that there are those who are exiting the physical plane and choosing not to continue on in this physical existence or this physical reality. And that isn't good or bad. It's not to say that there's anything right or wrong with that. That's just a choice people are making, and there's no judgment. The angels, God, source, there's absolutely no judgment for those who decide to exit the physical plane at this time. For those of us who are staying here to bring in those higher frequencies, we're being called to step up, to be the light, to be the way showers, the light bearers, and to hold that torch for others so that they can see the way out of the cloud of fear. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you're experiencing that kind of vacillating energy between the two timelines, know that that's normal, it's okay, you are not alone. And I'm going to be going through some cards today, which I pulled just before I came on, which kind of reflect what we're talking about. So from an astrological viewpoint, there are a few key dates coming up this month. So in April, we have a super full moon in Libra on the 7th of April. So this super full moon, the moon is going to be the closest to the Earth during this super full moon than it will be for the rest of the year. So it's going to be really powerful full moon. Yay, or yay. I don't know if the energy is being welcomed necessarily, but it's going to be there whether we like it or not. This super full moon is in Libra, so it's highlighting relationships. So not only your relations, and it's funny because we're all experiencing this isolation, we're experiencing this distancing, social distancing. So it's funny that this is bringing up relationships, but I think what it's showing us, that amid the social distancing, amid the isolation, we actually have become closer to certain people in our lives, the people who are really important. You'll notice that those relationships have become closer, even though there's that distance, even though there's that separation. You might find yourself talking to your loved ones on the phone or on FaceTime or through Zoom or through some other method of communicating. You might find that you're writing letters to people you love. You might find that you're just simply spending more time with your family than you ever have before. So relationships are going to be highlighted, and also your relationship with yourself, your inner relationship, and the parts of you that are being let go of, the parts of you that are maybe not serving you, the parts of you that are being healed, the wounded parts. So you might find those surfacing as well. And also the good parts, the parts of you that are rejoicing in this energy, this break that we're all taking, even though we're still looking after children, we're homeschooling, we're working, we're doing all the things. But there's just that lack of rushing about. Well, I'm feeling anyway, that there's not that rushing about from one place to another. You're not trying to get to swimming lessons or school or sports activities or parties. There isn't that sense of having to be places. You're in your home, you're doing things at your own pace. So the full moon in Taurus, or in Libra rather, is on the 7th, and then the sun will be moving into Taurus on the 19th of April, which will bring a beautiful grounded energy. This lovely Taurus energy will be coming in, which will help us really to ground our emotions, to ground our being, and to be in that energy of nature, of Mother Earth. And I don't know if you're stuck in your house or if you can get out at the moment. We're allowed a 2 kilometer radius to go and exercise. So I'm finding I'm really appreciating going to the park, which is right beside my house, being in nature. Yesterday we went with the kids looking for things in nature. We were looking for different types of mushrooms and exploring in different types of trees. And it was so beautiful. So you might find that you're getting out in nature more. Maybe you're not going to the gym, maybe you're going for a run out in the park or out in the open, and you're just being in nature more. So we're going to have that Taurus energy throughout April. The new moon in Taurus will be on the 22nd of April. So it'll continue on that vibe of that earthiness, that nurturing energy, a sense of ease. So this is really going to help us during this month. And then at the end of the month, on the 24th of April, we'll have Pluto retrograde, which will bring an energy of introspection. So you might find that journaling will be really helpful. You might find that you will be going within more than ever. And really, it's a perfect time to go within, to spend some time with your soul and to follow your soul guidance. And really, if we all spend a few moments each day just connecting within, we're going to emerge from this pandemic as a new earth. We're going to emerge as elevated beings. We're going to emerge as being more connected, more intuitive, more in touch with our souls, our soul guidance, our soul team. And it's going to be really beautiful. So it's not all bad. I know it seems like it's chaos. It's like everything is just coming to a halt. Everything is changing, the uncertainty. And there's a lot of that. People are uncertain about their futures, their jobs, their finances. And that's normal. But knowing that something greater is coming out of this. So the cards that I drew for the month, the first one that came up is deep replenishment. So I love this. It's perfect. Retreat, rest, be held. So I read recently a quote which I thought was so apt. It was saying that we're calling what we call isolation and quarantine in Buddhist traditions, they call it retreat. And this is what this card is saying: retreat, rest, be held. And that invitation is what all of us are being invited to do on a global level, to retreat, to go within. So it's really reframing, rather than thinking I'm isolated, I'm alone, I'm restricted. Think of this as an opportunity to retreat, to go within, to replenish yourself, to fill up your cup, to allow your soul to nurture your soul needs, your spiritual needs, and really to embrace that. So it's shifting your mindset from being isolated, distancing yourself, to retreating, going within and reconnecting with what's really important, and that's your soul, your inner guidance. So deep replenishment at the start of the month. Then the second week of the month, we have soul family. So I love this because as I was talking about your soul family, call in your tribe, you don't have to do it alone. So I love this because even though we're in isolation, even though we're distancing, it's saying call in your family, call in your tribe, you don't have to do it alone. So again, as I was saying, calling your friends, having FaceTime discussions, having Zoom. I have been on Zoom with my friends. We have been connecting from different countries and all of us coming together and chatting. And we never do that. We never really do that. So it's beautiful to do that, to reconnect and to open up to new ways of communicating. But also for me, your soul family is your family in the etheric realms. It's what I call your divine angelic team of light, your angels, your guides, your spirit guides, your animal guides, all of those beings who are around you constantly. They're constantly guiding you. They're your soul family as well. and you can't necessarily see them, but they're always there for you. So now is your opportunity to tap into your soul family. You have all these beings of light surrounding you. They are there, they are so real. And if you allow yourself to spend a few moments to connect with them, you'll realize you are not alone. You have never been alone. It is impossible for you to be alone. So connecting in with your soul family, with your divine angelic team of light, and knowing that you have so much support. You have so much support. So the next card coming up is Trust the Niggle. So this could be to do with that Pluto retrograde, which will be coming into towards the end of the month, the introspection. So saying, what is the niggling feeling trying to tell you? So with the Pluto retrograde, we might find that we have a shift in direction. We might find new goals coming up or something emerging that we might not have expected. So trust the niggle. What's that niggling feeling trying to tell you? What is it that's coming up for you? Maybe it's a shift in direction. Maybe it's a shift in perspective. Maybe it is just a realization that maybe you've been ignoring or that you haven't been tuning into because you've been so busy, you've been tuning it out. So trust the niggle that's coming up. Trust those intuitive hits that you're getting. Trust the nudges. And then finally, break the chain is the last card, which is again so apt for this month. Ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. So again, as I said, with the Pluto retrograde, you might have a redirection coming up. You might have new guidance coming in that you hadn't been listening to or you hadn't been hearing before. So we have opportunity to break the chain. So ancestral patterns that may not have been serving us, financial patterns, ways of being, ways of thinking, relationship patterns, any patterns that might not be serving you, you have the chance to break those, to sever that chain and to break the link that had been holding you back. And healing is coming up, rewriting the future. And that's what this is all about: a new earth, a new way of being, a new humanity on a higher frequency, a higher level, a higher timeline. So much happening this month, and it's so much to look forward to. As I was saying, if you are stuck in that fear, what I was talking at the start, if you're in that cloud of fear and you're feeling that you just can't get out of it, you just can't shift it, there's a lot that you can do. The thing I always recommend is connecting with your breath. There's a breathing technique. I think it's Andrew Weil, I think his name is Dr. Andrew Weil. He suggests doing this breathing technique, and it's 4-7-8 is the pattern. So you breathe in for the count of 4, you hold it for the count of 7, and then you breathe out for the count of 8. But when you're breathing out, you hold your tongue on the top of your mouth. So I'll show you how it's done. It's a bit strange the first few times you do it. Once you get into it, you get to do it. It doesn't seem so strange. But what this does is he said it's brilliant for anxiety. So anxiety, fear, that state of worriness, stress, it's great for all of that. So I'll show you how it's done. So breathe in for the count of 4. Hold for the count of 7. And then breathe out, holding your tongue to the top of your mouth. So breathing out for the count of 8. So if you do that 4 times to start, breathe in for the count of 4, out for or hold for the count of 7, out for the count of 8, holding your tongue to the top of your mouth. And do that 4 repetitions. And you'll notice immediately you're feeling lighter, immediately you're feeling better. And if you like, you can sit in stillness after you do that for a few moments, because you'll notice you just have a nice calm about you. So it's nice to do at the start of your meditation as well. If you decide to do that, try it sitting down first of all. Just allow yourself to breathe, and then you can do it as you go about your day. If you find that you're in a panic or you're just suddenly caught in fear, you can just stop and do that for a few cycles. So I hope that helps you, and I wish you all so much love, and the angels are there supporting you. Please call on your angels as well if you're in fear. Allow yourself to connect with your divine angelic team of light, and just trust the process, trust that we're being led to where we need to go. Okay, I will see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.